Hi, my name is Pigram. I'm the co-founder of Supermanouvre, an architecture and innovation company. We design buildings, we work with companies on products and research, and we have expertise especially in computational design and robotic and advanced manufacturing. Because we're so invested in computational design processes, and our motivation for doing so is to increase the design space to allow more factors to negotiate. So environmental factors, structural factors, desires, ornament, and all of these things coming together. The outcome of those negotiations is very often a complex out effect. So it's important, if we want to see these things get into the world, that we're also heavily invested in realization technologies. So the robot is really the perfect tool. It's a generic constructor. Basically, it's an arm without a hand. So if we have a new process, a new material strategy that we're invested in, then we have to build a new hand, curate a new dance, and then we can help to make that thing realizable. What we also find is that in the process of making that new tool and working with that new material, that its behaviors, its qualities, its character feed back into the design, and they enrich each other. So the computational design necessitates robotic or advanced manufacturing, and the advanced manufacturing enables an increased richness and more things to negotiate within the computational design strategies. As I explained in the project, I think there's three different ways of working with needs. One is that you have one and you try to solve it, which we actually do in more fundamental things, like there's always a need for your building to stand up. There's always a need to minimize material, and there's always a need to be responsible with the environment and the way energy interacts with your building. Those things are fundamental. When those things get taken alone, we end up with typically quite banal projects. So it's important that those things are allowed to speak to and collaborate with and not be singular. And so other desires like ornament, normally people don't talk about environmental sustainability and ornament at the same time. But with advanced manufacturing technologies, these things can actually enrich each other. If we're really precise actually about where light comes into our building, then the building will already be complex. Already, as soon as you're really dealing with these things precisely, or structures precisely, then you will never get a box. A box is never the right solution if you're precise. And so it's a mandate on you actually to build things complex. As soon as you're doing that, if you have the ability to put material precisely into the right location, then you can do that for every reason. So just like the photovoltaics moving on our project in Zurich, as soon as you can control every photovoltaic, of course you can track the sun, and you should, and we do. But once you're controlling them, then you can most of the time track the sun, but when the user is there and needs a view, you can get out of his way and provide a view. Or you can provide privacy by getting, again, in their way and negotiate from all of these things. And the outcome is actually that the building becomes a dynamic envelope that's really registering the movements of the environment and the inhabitants together. For me to be in this panel is fantastic because it really demonstrates what's required for us to get these things out of the research labs, off the computer screens and into the world. There's a number of battles that need to happen, and I think the panel is actually really great at representing all of the different stages. So we have Rob showing a lot of academic projects, extremely speculative, but getting big grants that now can start to really put that into the lab and be really, really serious. You have myself with a nice commission that's trying to straddle this between the lab and the world. And then you have the guys in industry who are actually going out actively looking for these technologies as a way to provide business opportunities. And finally, you have Niels within an incredibly successful, obviously world-famous design firm who's doing cutting-edge things, but absolutely engaged with commercial realities. And also with all of the constraints of the documentation phase and these things, so the procurement strategies. So I think the panel is fantastic at straddling all those things, and I love to meet, if I didn't know them already, some of them are my friends, and to be able to talk about how we collectively bring these things into the world.